Do they ask, why me, very often in a prison, for example, Rabbi Honig?
Yes. The question is always asked, why me? Especially doctors, lawyers, people of very notable professions coming to your office and suddenly breaking down and asking me, what have I done? Of course, we don't have all the answers, yet they feel that by coming to the chaplain, perhaps they could find solace, could find some comfort. It's very difficult to answer that question, why me?
How do you answer it? Do you say that God has afflicted you, or that you brought it upon yourself? Or?
No, you can't estrange them. You have to explain to them that they're here on a temporary basis, that they are to look at this as just being a night staying over, so to speak, and eventually they're going to get out. They should look for the good. All men have good in them, and the job of the chaplain is to bring out the good. So eventually, when they're released, they could use that good.
Rabbi Krauss, I know you must get that every minute, every day.
Even when I don't get it, it's implicit on every room in the hospital. But why me is not a theological question, why has God done this to me, but why is me, or woe is me, I'm in pain. And if it's in anger, then I say to them, I would tear down the walls if I were in your position. It's just like a child, this is a situation that has fallen down and hurt himself and scratched himself. Comes weeping, crying to the mother. The mother isn't going to explain you should do this or that, but first embraces the child and takes care of the child, wipes the tears, and then says, please take care of yourself.
Do they also, though, raise the theological question, how could God do this, or why did God do this to me?
They do it that way, but there's a third ear here where behind the words you say, you're there with them in the pain, and they're caring for them, and in their grieving. Later on, you can talk theology, but not at that moment, because that's not where they are. Then after the words you say, after you've been with them, you challenge them and say, what are you doing with the moments and the time that you've got? How are you putting the broken pieces of your life together again?
I believe similarly in corrections, it is based upon the dignity of man. We always speak of our brother's keeper, but we also should speak of our brother's brother. Mm-hmm. By showing them concern, by showing them, true, they made a mistake. We're all fallible. God is infallible. By making that mistake, by explaining to them they did make a mistake, perhaps they would understand. Now they have the time, truthfully on their hands, to understand that they could correct themselves.
You see, in the hospital setting, the dignity of man is another setting. Namely, everything is out of control. Your dignity is when you are in control. And what you say to them is, or you try to build their dignity, some control, that whatever is happening out there, that's one thing. But in your mind and your attitude that you're taking toward this, you can have complete control in this situation.
Dina, do you ask the question?
I asked the question, but not as often as I thought I might before I got sick. I found that, and Rabbi Krauss helped me a lot with this, that in looking at myself, how much I had gotten already, how much I brought to my son that I had, to my husband, who was really gained such a relationship with his son that he wouldn't have had the opportunity to have if I had been there as the mother and he was going to work. And there, Rabbi Krauss helped introduce my husband to Tehillim, and he...
That's the book of Psalms.
Right. And that was something that he gained a lot of...
Found strength in the book of Psalms.
Strength in that.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Dina, could I ask you a question? What has cancer taught you? And I've asked that of other patients.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say cancer has taught you?
Well, it certainly has taught me that that you don't know what to expect tomorrow, and to take each day as it comes, because 5 o'clock Monday, I thought I was a fine person, just had come from a pediatrician appointment where my son was doing wonderful, and went to my own doctor, and within an hour found out I had leukemia and would probably not make it through the year because of the seriousness, and was in Memorial Hospital the next morning. And my entire life changed. I didn't have time to think about anything else. And suddenly the only thing I could think about, and Rabbi Krause helped give me permission to think about myself and my own family and not to worry about the doctor's feelings necessarily or anyone else, and not feel obliged to others, but to just take care of me and my family and to use my strength.
Dina, you've been very open and frank. Is denial a phenomenon that you think is common amongst prisoners or hospital patients with serious illnesses, or their families?
I think it's a necessary part of it. I think it's a phase of dealing with illness, or...
In other words, you deny the illness, or you deny the seriousness of it? Is that what you mean?
You deny the seriousness of it on an emotional level because one can only accept up to a point, and as time goes on, and as you become more aware and more there's support, just time too, you begin to allow it to sink in.
That's right.
Emotionally also.
Do you run up against that in prisons, Rabbi?
In prison, I don't think anyone's going to deny that they're not in the prison.
Do they deny their culpability or their guilt?
Yes.
They do?
They do.
Sure.
They do. Everybody is right. Everybody.
They say actually, I'm innocent no matter what the court has decided or the jury has voted?
Yes, I heard many a time where a person will say, well, I made a mistake, but I'm really not that guilty.
How do you deal with that?
Basically, what they have is this association with shame. That's the problem. As I said earlier, you're dealing with people of very prominent professions, and they're suddenly thrust in an environment that's foreign to them, and they have to learn how to deal with this new type of environment. The shame, of course, is carried with them, not